All right, day after Christmas, we're right at it. Let's see, engine's back out, and we're putting the clutch in because I forgot to order the throw-up bearing, or the pilot bearing rather. So I've got the tilting in there, going in. I gotta measure up this distance to here, so I can set up for the throw-up bearing on the TKX. And I gotta remember to put the little spacer in there too, so I'll make sure I do that. But yeah, that's gonna look good, and that should hold 800 foot-pounds of torque, so we should be in good shape. It's all organic, so it should have good street manners. So stay tuned. Next thing is get the transmission hooked up to the engine and back in the car. Hey folks, well, Christmas week is here and gone. This Sunday. Did quite a bit. Let me turn it around and kind of narrate where we've been and what we've been up to. Slow progress. Obviously Christmas and spending time with family was priority. Had some other things happen, so didn't work on it quite as much as we did hoped, but we got quite a bit done. Engine's been in and back out. Had a technical issue with the dual disc clutch that I was using from Tilton. So let me turn this around. I did clean up a little bit, although you can't really tell. I'm really only down to this box right here, and these boxes here. That's AC. That's a filter. Not quite sure what's in the long box. So that that's the hinge kit for the hood, and then the gauges. But that's basically it. Kind of been thrashing a little bit. Here's all the headers and everything. I took them out. I had them mounted. I had to take them off. As I mentioned, I had the engine in and everything. Started, getting all these panels all finalized. These are all ready to get riveted, but I'm going to wait to rivet these in until I get the engine in. The air conditioning is completely in. As far as that goes, it's completely wired. All the switches for the air conditioning are in. All the pass-throughs are done. I still got to hook the engine start over to the switch, still hanging out. Let's see, engine compartment. So I've got all the the wiring for the first start all set up. Got my battery cable already run. Got the starter request wires right here. Got the ECU mounted. That has this wire right here is the O2 sensor harness, so I've got to break that apart so I can reach both headers. Let's see, what else have I done? Everything's wired in here. Got to make sure I got everything tight. This has to come off as the engine goes in, and I'll put it back in after. Got my ground for the battery, and that's rib nutted in with two washers stack up. And then here's the engine, and that's just per the instructions. I've got the fan wired. I have to put it's being controlled by the ECU. The only thing I've got left to do there is hook up the ground. Ran the front brake lines. They're all in, tidied, all done. There's the engine. It's moved, but back on my makeshift engine stand. Two jack stands and a jack. One thing I've got, Canton, for all you have been using Morosos, good call. The Canton one doesn't have provisions for a dipstick for the Gen 3, and consequently you can see that's how far up it goes. So I'm going to have to take the pan off again, drill the windage tray to get that to work. That's kind of a bummer. Did find out that the Mustang starter is not the same as the F-150 starter, which was where my problem started, And just to catch everybody up, this is the F-150 motor out of my donor truck that I modified, went through, freshened up, put Mustang cams in, and consequently this is the motor plate for the 10R80, which doesn't fit when you do the conversion. And I kind of knew that, but everything seemed to bolt up okay until it didn't. The other problem I had is that the Tilton, let me get by this thing, the Tilton pressure plate that's in there, the clutch disc, sticks back a little bit further than a single disc clutch, although you would think it's the same. It wasn't I was able to put the transmission in and get it all bolted up, but after about 6 or 7 cranks, the snout of the throw-up bearing retainer bound up and the engine kind of locked up and I couldn't spin it anymore. So I had to do some measurements. It ended up being that the throw-up bearing retainer was about, I don't know, I think it was like a 1/16 inch interference. So it was just making metal in there. So I measured everything out. I've got a good, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch now. So that should slide back in. I'm just waiting on the motor plate, which should be here tomorrow. And then that will mean I'll be able to put the engine back in. So the engine is all set up. I also reversed the engine harness. Here it is. So it comes out the back versus out the front, so that I can mount the ECU in the back. And what that entails, if anybody feels like doing it again for on their car, is basically you've got to lengthen this one wire for the intake cam solenoid sensor, and then you've got to lengthen the TPS, throttle position sensor. You could probably buy an extension harness, but since I was breaking the harness apart anyway, I went ahead and did it. And then I'll fix the wire loom and everything so it's all one color, and get that all nice once I get the engine in and fire it up with the intake. But yeah, it's all ready to go. I've done, I put multimeter down here on the positive and then to the negative, and then basically checked all the circuits, so everything else works. Yeah, and then I'm still missing my steering shaft. It's actually like there's like a short piece on the Gen 5 or Mark 5 that goes basically like that. I'm not really sure why that ended up being that way. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm not quite sure what it is. Let's see. What else? Did a fit check on the rims. So this one is pretty close camber wise, and there's plenty of space right there. I wouldn't call it plenty. This is plenty, right? But I'd say it's far enough. I'll say I'll probably put a small spacer in there. We'll take a look at how flush this is with the outside of the fender. Other than that, that's about it. Oh, hold on, one more. Mounted the elephant ears for the front. You'll notice I put these thinking they were going to be okay. It's about where I put them on the coupes, not thinking that the front of the car is a lot shorter, so everything kind of moved. And I measured it off where I normally put it, and it actually encroached into the front wheel well, which caused me, to modify this just a little bit right there. I could have probably pulled it off, filled the holes, re-drilled and everything, but at this point, you're not going to see that with the body on, not like in the coupe. So I'm probably just going to leave it. But yeah, that's it for today. Uh, yeah, and I think, I don't think I'm working this week. Probably be off and on with emails and stuff, but not actually going into the office. And then we got New Year's, so I'll probably get a good 5 days. I'd like to get it started next weekend. So, boy, it feels like a mile away, but it happens quick. And hopefully, once I get the engine back in, everything kind of works. So, more to follow there, and stay tuned. See you in a minute.